Okay, so I think I see right over here everything is set up. Just want to see right over here if we are going to go live at least to get something started. Ah, yes, okay, so I think we are all ready right now. I think everything is set up. Everything is all good. So for those of you that came in early, I just want to ask, how are you guys doing? All right, so already, wow, people have come in, people have arrived. All right, sweet. I think we got something good right now. So hopefully you guys are beating out the summer heat. Matt, did you ever find out what Party in the USA lyric you are? No, I ain't trying that freaking BuzzFeed quiz. Screw that. It's just, it was honestly too stupid. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good so far. I mean, I am quite enjoying my summer, so things seem to be pretty good. So I think with all that said, I think we are all ready. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting round of AniMat's crazy cartoon cast. And right now, what we have for you guys for this week, even though we are a little bit short on animation news, I understand there hasn't been a lot going on, but still, it has been we've got some pretty interesting events going on right now. And first of all, I just need to make sure, yeah, okay. So I just want to do a quick little fix. Okay. Now, anyways, back on to what I was saying. Yes. So it is technically true that even though this week we didn't necessarily get a whole lot of animation news, but we still got some exciting news to go and talk about. And especially considering that this week, I don't know about you guys, but here in Canada, my God, we've had like one of the hottest weeks of the summer. And it was just absolutely insane. It was the kind where you can feel like there is a massive force barrier between going into like a building that has air conditioning and stuff like that, and then going into the outside world where you can barely breathe. It was just insane. But anyways, with all that said and done, you're not here about the weather, about the sun, or anything like that. You're here about the crazy animation news. So, with all that said and done, are you guys ready for another crazy round of the AniMat's crazy cartoon cast? Because I got some interesting stories to tell you all. So, is any of you guys ready for it? I just want to see. Alright, just looking into the chat wall, see if people are going to be... Alright, yes, okay, we got some. Yep, okay. Looks like, yep, okay, good. We are ready right now. Awesome! Okay, so, as I've stated before, we didn't really have a lot of animation news, but I might as well go ahead and talk about what could count as the biggest animation news of the week. Considering that Nickelodeon decided to put up a brand new show, but it is expanding upon one of their latest and greatest animated series. And no, it is not going to be something new from The Loud House, but rather from Lincoln's Buddy. And what I'm talking about, of course, is going to be Los Casagrandes. Yes, it is official. By the way, I'm going to be reading from my source here in the Animation Magazine that Nickelodeon has officially greenlit a Loud House spin-off show called Los Casagrandes, where in here it will be focusing not on Lincoln or any of his sisters, but rather on Lincoln's friend, Ronnie Ann. And it says here, as a little bit of a synopsis, it states that hold on a sec, there we go. Los Casagrandes features Ronnie Ann and her brother Bobby Santiago, who are adjusting to their new life in Great Lake City. Actually, hold on, I just realized something. One thing that I forgot to do is set up my microphone. Wow, how dumb of me. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, anyways, let's go ahead and continue now. Where was I? Okay, yes. I'll just repeat a little bit. Los Casagrandes features Ronnie Ann and her brother Bobby Santiago, who are adjusting to their new life in Great Lake City, living in their big, loving, and chaotic multi-generational family, the Casagrandes. In the series, Ronnie Ann makes new friends, builds stronger bonds with her relatives, and explores the endless possibilities of city life. Bobby helps Grandpa Hector run the family corner store and becomes familiar with the neighborhood's quirky characters. It also added in that Ronnie Ann and her family was introduced in the special called The Loudest Mission Relative Chaos, and also mentioned that the characters will still be appearing in The Loud House for Season 3, and will feature a special 5-episode story arc in Season 4. Now, what is actually very interesting to note, however, is that when it comes to the series Los Casagrandes and some elements for The Loud House in future episodes, is that it also mentioned that they are going to be bringing in cartoonist Lalo Alcaraz, who has actually worked on Pixar's Coco, where he is going to be a consulting producer and also a cultural consultant. So considering that this is an all-Latino cast, they are going to make sure that they're going to go and try to get things right when it comes to like the cultural aspect, the Latino aspect of the series and within the family, so at least they could get it right, so it doesn't look like a bunch of dumb white people are just making the show, just guessing their way on how to represent people of color. So that's pretty much the big news right now. There is no announcement of when this series is going to be released. There's no mention of when it's going to come out. All we know is that Nickelodeon says yes to making 20 episodes to a spin-off of The Loud House, which for now is going to be called Los Casagrandes. And for that, I just want to start things off by saying, however, that I'm not too familiar when it comes to The Loud House and stuff like that. I haven't seen the show myself, but I have heard a lot of great things about it. The only bad thing that I've heard is regarding Chris Savino, the creator of The Loud House, and how he is a bit of a terrible human being, and how he would abuse and sexually harass women and stuff like that. But that's pretty much it. Other than that, I've heard a lot of great stuff about The Loud House, and of course how it is the latest Nickelodeon show that's really exploding, that's really getting up there in the ranks in the levels of like SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents. But other than that, from what I see right over here, and especially that we do have this one picture showing Ronnie Ann and her family of Los Casagrandes, is that from what I see, it actually does look really cool. And I think this is a great thing that Nickelodeon does tries to do that, not just for the not just for like the franchise of The Loud House itself, but also for different cultures to see a brand new show which features like an all Latino cast, which in a way this could be like what Coco is to movies, Los Casagrandes can be for animated series, especially like when this is all represented as like a family starring all like just Latinos. It's all Latinos. It's all dedicated to them. And especially what is actually interesting to note is that one thing that this does remind me a lot about is that this feels like this is the animation equivalent of some of the ABC shows where it features a family of color. Like when you think of Fresh Off the Boat or Blackish, where it does have a group where we have like this family, or we have this entire group that features this like a racial minority, and it really does very well for not just with that specific race, but also like with everybody, and seeing like people of color showing more diversity, like starting to thrive onto television. And this is the animation equivalent that we are seeing right over here. And it's kind of coincidental that we are seeing something like this, because I remember not too long ago, just yesterday, I believe, I remember seeing a little bit of a behind the scenes video where we are seeing how diversity is starting to emerge a lot in animation, and even in animated series, where like there are also a lot of Latino representation in DuckTales, where we have Lin-Manuel Miranda's character, and like I forgot the actress's name, unfortunately. I do apologize for that, but I remember they also interviewed the girl who played Lin-Manuel's character's mama, so they also talked a little bit about that, and honestly, it was really nice. So seeing that we do have this Latino, that we also have a series that has like this all Latino cast, and especially like we do have confidence that they are going to try to do something right and that they will be a little more serious, especially the fact that they brought in Lalo Alcaraz to be a cultural consultant and a consulting producer for this series. And he's going to play a little bit of a similar role to what he did with Coco. And when you look at Coco, that was amazing. Like, that was a great animated series, especially when this is, with Coco, it's a movie that celebrates Mexican culture with an all-Latino cast in it. That is actually something where they can actually get it right when it comes to the Latino culture. So hopefully we will see something like this. Like I said before, at best, what this could be is what Los Casagrandes will do for animated series, Coco will do for animated features. So maybe this could be something that could actually work out, and it could be strong. And especially for Loud House fans, it could be something that they could really enjoy, like something that could really expand upon the Loud House universe, where we will see more aspects where maybe if this can work out and maybe they could do a little bit more of this, like, who knows, maybe they could also have like a second spin-off show or something like that. Like, the world of the Loud House could probably be like the next Simpsons, where we are going to know a lot more about the people in that little town that the Loud House is set in. It's like, you know, it could be like the next Springfield, where we can get familiar with all the different family members, with all the different characters and stuff like that. So it really is advantageous for Nickelodeon, for Loud House, and also for the Latino community. Like, honestly, when I see something like this, I honestly just see a whole lot of positives of what could happen with the series. So yeah, I think this is honestly a great idea, and honestly, I'm pretty optimistic to see how it could actually turn out, especially for Loud House fans, that this is something that they could really enjoy. So with that said and done, I would like to know in the chat wall right now, I would like to ask, what do you guys think about Los Casagrandes? Probably you guys are bigger Loud House fans than I am. You're probably a little more familiar of what this is. So I would like to know a little more about, what do you think? Are you guys excited for Los Casagrandes? Are you guys excited to see this come out? Do you have any questions regarding what this could be? I would like to know, like, what do you guys think about Los Casagrandes? Bring out your questions. Honestly, I would also like to learn a little more. Maybe there are some information that I am missing regarding Los Casagrandes, like especially when I'm not too familiar with Loud House. Maybe you guys can fill in. Let's see. As a Mexican, I'm extremely excited. Loud House is one of my favorite Nicktoons. Okay, perfect. Let's see. Well, it's official. Nickelodeon is going to pull a Cleveland show. Oh, God. Oh, man. I haven't thought about that connection. Okay, I think that could be like a bit of a worst case scenario. Okay, I see what you mean. In a way, yeah. Like, it is true that technically like the similarities are a little too uncanny. The fact that, like going from Family Guy to Cleveland's show, yeah, it does seem similar to like Loud House to Los Casagrandes. So maybe you do have a point. Maybe that could be something. But I don't know, that is kind of like worst case scenario in that aspect. But I don't know, like, I think really it does depend. Like, you just need faith on the people at Nickelodeon that maybe they'll bring out a good show out of it. Maybe they'll know what they're doing. But hopefully it won't turn out something like the Cleveland show, and then then the show gets canceled, and then Ronnie Ann says, okay, screw it, I'm back. Don't worry about me. Let's just forget a little bit about what just happened. Oh, boy. I'm not gonna lie. I actually did watch a little bit of Cleveland's show. It was alright. It was back when I would, like, continuously watch Family Guy, but, it had its moments. Well, it was just, like, I think it's just okay, honestly. But, yeah, I could see how it got canceled. But, yeah, any other questions? Anything you would like to say regarding Los Casagrandes? I would like to know. Let's see. Okay, I'm really liking The Legend of the Three Caballeros, but I'm talking about Los Casagrandes. But all right, do we have anything else? It doesn't seem like it. okay, since the character CJ has Down syndrome, maybe an episode about disability acceptance. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I did not know Loud House has a Down syndrome character. Can any of you guys fill me in on who CJ would be? That would actually be interesting to know. Tribute to Mexican family. And well, I think, LA area, oh, the LA area is surrounded by Hispanic culture. Okay. Yeah, but that's all I ask for now is just, I just need to know right now regarding who would be this character. Yeah, I just want to know who would be CJ. I just want to get a little bit of context. All right, you know what? Screw it. Actually, forget it. Actually, I'm gonna go. I'm actually gonna go find out myself. Well, let's see. CJ Loud House. I might as well figure it out. Who would be CJ? Ah, okay. Oh, this is CJ. Oh, so okay, I see. So this is okay. So that's CJ. Well, I see. Okay, well, they do have CJ right over here. So, yeah, I think the guy with the bow tie. Okay, I see now. I see. Okay, yeah, so I think there will be... Oh, they even have, like, a picture of... Yeah, like, we even have a fuller picture of the Casagrandes. But, yeah, I think... yeah, I'm pretty sure there will be some episodes that will be dedicated to CJ. So, definitely. I think there could be a lot of potential. But, yeah... overall, this does seem like... Whoops, okay. Pretend you didn't see that yet. So, overall, this does seem like the whole situation with Los Casagrandes. Like I said, we don't know when this is going to be coming out, but we know this is officially happening from Nickelodeon. So, I guess all we could say right now is just stay tuned. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to our next story right now, in which we are going to be talking about animated features this time. And we got a bit of a last-minute casting, but this is one that really is quite interesting. This is something in which that does seem a little bit fascinating, and it turned a lot of heads. And honestly, I'm just going to say it is very familiar, and I talked about it before, and I mentioned how it is pretty exciting to see him in an upcoming animated feature, especially with the role that he's playing. It's only fair that I would also be a little more excited for this animated feature because they have Nicolas Cage in it. And what I'm talking about is going to be Sony's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Yes, they officially brought in Nicolas Cage to play as Spider-Man Noir, which officially makes him the 4th confirmed Spider-Man that's going to appear in the movie. Now, if you guys remember, when it comes to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, we have already seen 3 other Spider-Mans that will be there. Of course, we got the star of the movie, which is going to be Miles Morales, which his Spider-Man is going to be there, of course. We also got the original Spider-Man. We got Peter Parker in there, who's going to be a lot more older. And also, at the end of the new trailer that we got last month, we saw that Gwen Stacy will be there as Spider-Gwen. So Spider-Gwen will be making an appearance, and now it is confirmed that Nicolas Cage will be appearing as Spider-Man Noir. Now, for those of you who don't know who is Spider-Man Noir in the first place, my source here, Collider, actually brought out the Wikipedia page to explain, or at least a little section from Wikipedia, to explain a little bit of who Spider-Man Noir is. And on top of that, I will give you a little bit more context. I'm sure Joey knows more about Spider-Man Noir than I do. Yeah, that is definitely true. When it comes to Joey Tedesco, he definitely knows a lot more about Spider-Man. Honestly, among the the animation reviewing world, I don't think there's anybody who knows more about Spider-Man than Joey does. But anyways, let me go ahead and just read you the little description that it has here on Collider. So it states here that in this reality, Peter Parker is an inexperienced yet idealistic apprentice of a respected yet troubled reporter who is accidentally bitten by an illegally imported and highly venomous spider while secretly investigating a smuggling ring of ancient spider statues. But instead of killing him, the incident imbues him with superhuman abilities, similar to that of a spider. Using advantage of his new abilities, Parker begins to wage a one-man war against the criminal underworld in New York City as a brutal and feared vigilante known as Spider-Man, partly to avenge the death of his uncle Ben Parker, and at the hands of the city's major crime lord, Norman Osborn. And one little detail that I forgot to mention about Spider-Man Noir is actually the fact that the whole thing is actually set in the Great Depression. So this is a little bit of the past, and it also meant, and like, there are some descriptions that would say that there is a little bit of a steampunk version of Spider-Man. So it doesn't really have a picture of Spider-Man Noir here. So, well, not even like in these pictures from like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So I'm just going to show you a picture of Spider-Man Noir. So as you can see right over here, this is Spider-Man Noir. So in here you see that, like, for those of you who are just listening instead of like watching, what you see here, this is Spider-Man, who is like, he is completely black from top to bottom, including his face is like entirely masked, except for just a pair of goggles. And he's like wearing also like this long black trench coat, and also he has a revolver. Like, that's the one thing that sets him apart from the other Spider-Man, is the fact that he has a gun. That's also the big thing about Spider-Man Noir, is the fact that he has a gun. So the big thing with Spider-Man Noir is that you try to think like he is mostly the Spider-Man that we all know and love. Like, he is Spider-Man, but he has a hint of Batman in him, and he has a gun. That's the best way to describe it, is that it's mostly Spider-Man, part Batman, and has a gun. For some reason, you just throw in the gun in there as well. So, one thing, and also there is something very interesting to mention about the factor that it is voiced by Nicolas Cage, is that very coincidentally, this year, this will not be the first time that he will be voicing an animated character, and not only that, he will provide the voice of a popular superhero, in which, in a few weeks from now, he is actually going to be playing as Superman in Teen Titans Go to the Movies. So, what a coincidence. This year, Nicolas Cage will be voicing two animated characters, and they are very popular superheroes, one from DC and one from Marvel. Well, what do you know? And also, another coincidence is that this is not the first time that Nicolas Cage will be playing a character. He will be playing a Marvel character for Sony Pictures. If you guys remember, he has previously played Ghost Rider in those two features. Like, in both Ghost Rider movies, he was actually the star. So this is not only his first time voicing an animated character, an animated comic book superhero for a 2018 movie, but this is also not the first time that Nicolas Cage will be appearing in a Sony Marvel movie. So really, there is a lot of connections, and honestly, this is highly fascinating. And I don't know about you guys, but I do feel like more and more we are seeing a bit of a comeback for Nicolas Cage, because lately he hasn't really been appearing in much, and even in the movies that he did appear in, they aren't really all that great. But we are slowly but surely seeing a bit of a comeback from Nicolas Cage. Like, this year now, we are seeing a bit of an incline for him, where now he's starting in Teen Titans Go, and then, like, of course, you've probably seen, like, the trailers where Nicolas Cage is at his craziest with the movie Mandy. I think that's the movie, that's what it's called. But then now, and also right now, he is going to cap off the year by appearing in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where he's going to be Spider-Man Noir. And yes, I am aware, people, that my phone rang. I'm going to get that later. Okay, but anyways, going into this, yeah, it really does sound exciting, and it really does sound cool that Nicolas Cage is going to be playing a Spider-Man. I mean, he has already proven his worth as playing as comic book characters, and also as a voice actor and an actor in general. So it is going to be pretty exciting to see Nicolas Cage coming in as a different interpretation of Spider-Man. That is definitely going to be exciting, and especially when it is Spider-Man Noir, there is a lot of possibilities that the movie can actually do with it. So honestly, I don't know what's going to happen, but that honestly, as an idea, bringing in Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir, that actually really does sound cool. However, like the trailer that we saw last month, while I am really optimistic about it, there's also a part of me that does feel a little bit cautious. Because the one thing that it did not say throughout any of the articles that I've seen, where people would mention that, oh, Nicolas Cage is going to be Spider-Man Noir, they didn't necessarily explain his role. And that's where I am a little bit worried about. I'm honestly, like, when it comes to Spider-Man Noir, I am a little bit cautious about it, as much as I am cautious about having Gwen Stacy in it, where Spider-Man Noir and Spider-Gwen, they won't necessarily have much of a point in the movie, but rather, they're just going to be there for the purpose of fan service. Like, that's the one thing that I am worried about, if that they're just going to be using them for just fan service, they won't serve a purpose to the plot, and they're just there just to make a pointless Spider-Man reference. That's the worst case scenario that I can imagine, where it would be a little bit of a wasted opportunity there. So, I don't know, maybe I could be wrong with it. Maybe they will find a way to actually have Spider-Man Noir have a point in it, along with, like, Spider-Gwen as well. Because so far, the only confirmed roles that we know will have a point in the movie is just going to be Miles Morales, since he is going to be the star. And then we also got Peter Parker, who's going to be coming in a lot more older than we've seen him in other interpretations, and he's going to play a mentor to Miles Morales, and that's pretty much it. We don't know what Gwen Stacy is going to do, and we don't know what Spider-Man Noir is going to do. And on top of that, we don't know if we're also going to see plenty of other Spider-Mans as well. Like if we're also going to see Spider-Man 2099, if we're also going to see Spider-Pig, if we are going to see I forgot his name, but it's that, the Spider-Man, that one time when Spider-Man had 6 arms? Yeah, that's a Spider-Man apparently. So I don't know if they're just going to be using Spider-Man Noir either as just a pointless fan service thing, just to make a reference about the other Spider-Man, or if there would actually have a point to having that Spider-Man Noir into this Spider-Man. I don't know. There could be a way that it can go right, but there also could be a way that it could feel a little bit disappointing. And especially, 8 limbs, like a real spider? Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, overall, honestly, what they have with Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir, it does sound like a really interesting idea, and it does make me a bit more excited for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This does seem like something that could have some very, very strong potential, but other than that, I'm not sure if they will actually have him be there to actually do something, to have a point more than just be for fan service. I don't know. Now, at this point, I would like to go and pass on to the mic to the chat wall. I would like to know what you guys think about the whole scenario with having Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Are you guys even more excited for the movie to come out now that we do have Nicolas Cage and that we do have Spider-Man Noir in there? Or are you going to be a little bit more cautious? Are you sure that you don't know if there would be much of a point? Does it seem like a pointless idea, or does it seem like a great idea? I would like to know what you think right now. What do you guys think? Let's see. I'm not sure if it's going to take place during or after Infinity War. Could it be either or during Infinity War? Oh, no, 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 no. Just one thing to be clear. Into the Spider-Verse is not going to be associated with the Marvel Cinematic Universe whatsoever. This is going to be its own thing. In fact, I don't think it's even going to be associated with Sony Cinematic Universe. So this is just going to be its own movie, and that's it. Let's see. Are we getting different universes in this film? Is there a distinctive possibility Into the Spider-Verse is going to be an overambitious or overstuffed? That's the one thing, honestly, Tyler, that's the one thing that I really am a bit worried about, is if they would do a little too much with it. That's the one thing I am a little bit cautious about, and why I am a little hesitant to, well, not hesitant, but I am a little bit cautious regarding Into the Spider-Verse if they would end up trying to go a little too much, that they're trying to go a little too big. Now, of course, as we all know, there is a way that you can make that work, especially if you look at if this can find a way to be like the Lego Batman movie, where it can also pay homage to all the previous in the Lego Batman movie, where it pays homage to all the older Batman projects, and it brings them all together and kind of has a point to the plot where they would pay homage to them, then that would be amazing. If Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse can do that, then it could turn out to be awesome. But I don't know, in the wrong hands, yeah, it could be a little too overambitious, and it could turn out to be something that only Spider-Man fans can probably understand, or it could even be too overbearing for Spider-Man fans, so who knows. But, it does serve up a lot of promise, there is a lot of hype to it, but if it doesn't turn out, honestly, if it doesn't meet up to the hype, then there will be some major consequences for Sony. So, I don't know. So, any other questions regarding the whole scenario with Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir? I would like to know what you guys think. Let's see. Just want to know if there's anything else. I hope that Spider-Ham. Yeah, that's who I meant. Spider-Ham. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I never knew Spider-Man had its own Shadow the Hedgehog. Basically, that's pretty much it. That's what Spider-Man Noir is. It's a little bit that's basically, it's the Spider-Man equivalent of Shadow the Hedgehog. With the gun and everything, and especially with all black, and especially and even mentioning that it has an attitude that is a darker and edgier Spider-Man. If the DC Extended Universe made a Spider-Man film, it would mostly be about Spider-Man Noir. So that would probably be the thing right there. Let's see. Will he keep track of his voice? Will he keep track of his voice acting in 2 animated films this year? Oh, I think I can. Especially that, they are pretty far apart. You got Teen Titans Go, which is going to be coming out at just in a few weeks from now, and then you also got Spider-Man Noir, Into the Spider-Verse, which is coming out at the end of the year. I think he'll be pretty fine. I think he could keep track well. Okay. He's not Spider-Ham anymore. He's Piggy Jackson. Oh my god. Okay, I have to admit, that is that is funny. So, yes, I actually did. Yes, Riggy, I actually did mention it. That, Nicolas Cage is going to be both in a DC and Marvel animated feature that are going to be coming out in theaters. What a massive coincidence. I wonder if people are going to be making comparisons, actually. I could totally imagine in the future that people will actually do comparisons, which one is the better movie? Teen Titans Go to the Movies or Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse? Let's find out. That could be an interesting video idea, so who knows. But, okay. I think that's pretty much the whole thing that we got with Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir. Now let's go ahead and move on. We're going to be sticking a little bit to a similar theme where we're going to be staying with Sony Pictures. Now in here, with the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse idea with Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir, this is actually a pretty interesting idea. In good hands, it could actually turn out to be well made. It could actually be a smart idea. But for our next story that we have, we're going to be seeing Sony doing something a little bit stupid. Now, this is honestly this is a bonus miscellaneous. It's not necessarily related to animation, but this is honestly a story that I just find it's just too hilarious to not share. Like, this is something that I think it'll be something to give you guys a little bit of a laugh. Now, what happened with Sony Pictures is that they did a little bit of a mistake on YouTube, where what ended up happening was that they were supposed to upload a little trailer, but what happened instead is that they uploaded a whole freaking movie. Yes, Sony Pictures accidentally posted the full movie on YouTube instead of a trailer. So what happened was that this week, Sony Pictures was supposed to be uploading a little trailer. It was supposed to be a red band trailer of a movie called Kali the Killer. And it wasn't supposed to be long. Apparently, it's supposed to be just 46 seconds. But what ended up happening was that Sony accidentally uploaded the entire movie in itself. Yes, I am not joking. I am reading I am seeing this from an article from The Wrap. So this did let me tell you guys, and it was reported everywhere. So this actually did legitimately happen. And it even states, just reading from my source, that the movie ended up being on YouTube for nearly 8 hours before it was ultimately yanked. And the 46-second trailer has yet to be posted in an official capacity by the studio. Maybe that's a different case. Maybe by the time you're watching or listening. Yeah. Anyways, it could be the case that even as you're watching or reading this right now, maybe Sony has finally uploaded the trailer, maybe they have not, but yeah, for a brief moment, they actually put up the full trailer, and not many people, but some did. In all, the video received nearly 11,000 views before it was taken down. And so what basically happened with Kali the Killer is just that they wanted to post the trailer, but no, turns out they ended up putting up the movie. And honestly, this is the kind of thing that I am familiar with. I mean, this is about uploading a video. You know, this is all about uploading something on YouTube. That's the thing. You know, I am familiar. I've done this like every week. I've done this, you know, I would often do this like several times a week. And the more that I think about it, the more that I realize Sony is really, really dumb in this case. Because there are so many ways that you could prevent this from happening, but apparently it ended up being really screwed up here. Like, they really messed up so bad, and there are many ways you can avoid this problem, but apparently you could not. Because here's the thing. Really think about this, guys. Now, we're talking about a movie that's more than an hour long. And the trailer itself is, apparently it says it's only 46 seconds. And that's it. So, when you go and think about, like, the scenarios right over here, like, when you're trying to upload, rather it be, like, a movie that's more than an hour long or 46 seconds, you'll notice that there will be a difference. Even if the movie itself is at a low quality, like if it's at 480p or even at a low quality at like 240p, and you got the trailer itself and it's at the highest quality possible, like 1080p or even like 4K, like no matter what's going to be the case, the trailer will still be faster to upload than the movie itself. And, like, by the time that they would actually be uploading, like, they should probably notice that it took a lot longer to upload it. Like, are you telling me that there wasn't someone there who looked at it going, huh, that's a little strange. It's taking a lot longer to upload this trailer for some reason. Like, that would be the red flag right there, number one. How they might find something that is, like a little bit strange in this scenario. So there is that. The factor that when uploading, it takes a lot longer for some reason. Because uploading 46 seconds worth of a video should not take that long. So they should have noticed that immediately. And then there is the second thing, is the factor that they should have supervised it before putting it out to the public. Because when you upload something, there are ways that you can make it so that nobody can see it yet. That you could put the video in private, or that you could schedule it so that it would be out in the public a little later. And by that point, you can go and make a little bit of revisions to see if it would go and work out. Try to see if everything would be okay with the video itself, if it's uploaded nicely, if it's playable, and all that kind of stuff that you can go and check it out right over there. Now, from there, like, if they would have done that, if they would have put in, like, a little bit of revisions after that they upload it and set it to private or schedule or whatever, they would notice that in the time frame that it says that it's a lot longer than 46 seconds. If your little indicator says that it's, like, more than an hour long, then, oops, maybe you didn't upload the frickin' trailer. Maybe you uploaded an entire frickin' movie. So that, you know, there are so many ways that you could prevent what happened here. And also, like, if you wanted to go, and on top of that, like, also putting up annotations. Like, that's another key factor. If you want to put up, like, annotations, if you want to put up little links, if you want to go and put up, like, little screens to say, click here to go to the next video, or stuff like that, you probably could, you know, that also would have been something that they could have revised on to check if they, you know, to see, like, okay, we're going to put this here, we're going to put that there. Like, did you not notice that the little custom screen that they've made for that didn't appear or something like that? Honestly, this is something that is a little bit ridiculous. And I see that in the chat wall, some people are thinking that maybe they did this on purpose. No, they absolutely did not. I mean, I'm just saying that if they only put it up there for, like, if they put this up for 8 hours and then pulled it off indefinitely, that means it was a mistake. Especially the fact that if they upload it, like, especially if they put it up and it's for free, that's the problem. That, you know, that's honestly something that it's honestly ridiculous. You know, honestly, it's something that's just ridiculous. No, there is no way that Sony did this on purpose. It was an accident. But I will say right now, though, that Sony is definitely lucky when it comes to like with the mistake that they've done. They actually are pretty lucky about it, because this is a small film. This is just Kali the Killer. And I'm sure it wouldn't surprise me that those of you watching or listening to this is probably your first time hearing this movie. Now, if this were something that is much bigger, something that they're really trying to bank hard on, like if they did that mistake with something like Hotel Transylvania 3 or with Venom, then they would seriously be in trouble. Then, like, Sony's nightmare would really be big. Like, they would be reliving a little bit of what happened with the Sony hack, and people would end up watching stuff for free. They would actually get a way to immediately download it and put it up. But in this case right over here, the situation is not necessarily as bad, because it's just Kali the Killer. This is something that they didn't even intention to really put up in theaters. I think this is just some kind of, like, straight to DVD movie, and that's pretty much it. That's all that they were really planning about. So at least they did get lucky there, but still, it is kind of funny to mention, how the fridge can you mess up so bad that instead of posting a 46-second trailer, you end up putting up a whole godforsaken movie that's more than an hour long. I mean, seriously. There must have been, like, I'm sure at that point, Sony must have fired some people. They must have at this point. Because, like, this is a mistake that nobody can afford, especially for, like, a big company like Sony that needs to profit their movies as much as they can. Putting this up for free is a massive no-no. So with all that said and done, I would like to go and ask you guys, what do you think about the whole scenario with Kali the Killer? I would like to go into the chat wall right now and ask you guys, what do you think about, yeah, I see someone, oh, I wish they did this for Hotel Transylvania 3. Okay, no, absolutely not. Like, no, you cannot just accidentally put it up for free with Hotel Transylvania 3, especially, like, When it's something that they're trying to bank on, no. Like, that is something they cannot afford to. They cannot lose all, like, they're gonna lose, they would lose so much, they would legit lose millions of dollars if it is one of their big movies like Hotel Transylvania 3. So I would like to know what you guys think. I believe I read somewhere that this was uploaded by the same guy who uploaded the Mummy trailer with no sounds last year. He totally got fired for this beyond a doubt. Oh, wow, I didn't even know about that. Oh my god, so they put up a trailer of the Mummy and it literally had no sounds? Oh boy, like, I understand, it does happen. You know, that's the funny thing. It can happen when you upload something that would have some technical mistakes on YouTube. Like, it has happened to me a few times before, but wow, on that level, like, that is something that you cannot do when it comes to like working with a big company like with Sony or Universal. Like, that's the big thing. Okay, is the movie still online? No, as it stated, 8 hours after it was uploaded, it was pretty much taken out, but I'm sure that there are some other people out there that they've put it up in, like, you know, they probably put it in torrents and stuff like that, so it is a little bit too late, so, like, someone actually said it best, Ama says, the video will never be deleted. It will be downloaded FPR. Yeah, that's the thing. Once you upload something, it's there forever. You cannot really delete something on the internet. It will be there no matter what. So that, you know, that's the big thing. So Sony's little mistake, it probably would cost them. Like, they would probably make some money with Kali the Killer, but not as much anymore because, like, now people have downloaded and they're spreading it around on the internet, and only Sony would blame themselves. Let's see. Sony will definitely sell their film and TV assets if this kind of mistake happens again. Probably, but, like, again, it would have to be something far bigger. Again, like, if they did this to Venom, then yes, they'll definitely have to do something about it. Like, there will be people fired, and like, the big Sony corporation will probably have to do something when it comes to Sony Pictures, so who knows. But I thought, honestly, I thought I would share this so that you guys can probably have a good laugh. It's just, like, one of these strange, funny stories that, you know, we just gotta talk about it. And, like, yeah, it's one of those, like, oddities that apparently it did happen. So, like, don't be surprised about, like, any crazy situation. I know, like, honestly, if I would have just told you that Sony Pictures accidentally uploaded an entire movie instead of a trailer when they were supposed to upload a trailer, you guys probably wouldn't believe me. You know, like, you think it would just be like, oh, that's just some dumb things to say to make Sony look bad without any facts. But no, this is honestly a story that you just gotta go and just show it. So, you know, that's kind of a big thing. I thought, like, it would just be a fun little crazy story to share. So, with that said and done, let's go right ahead and move on to our next story, which I want to give you guys a little bit of a warning right now that this is not necessarily a 100% legitimate thing. So, with this next thing, it will be a rumor, and please take this with a grain of salt. This is just a little bit of a discussion piece, so this is not really official. So, this is just a bit of an idea. So, who knows what could possibly happen? The only way that we will know is if we do see the movie for ourselves. So this is just an idea that is floating around, so we'll just have to wait and see with how it is. So what I am talking about is actually going to be the next highly anticipated animated feature right after Incredibles 2. And what I mean is that the next most anticipated sequel after Incredibles 2, it is, without a doubt, Ralph Breaks the Internet, Wreck-It Ralph 2. And apparently, the word is out, yes, the headline is that there is no antagonist in Wreck-It Ralph 2. And yeah, there is a video that's going on, so I'm just going to pause that. So I'm using my source here in Bleeding Cool, where it actually stated that there was a UK press that happened this week in the Soho Hotel. And apparently what happened was that one of the producers, Clark Spencer, actually came in to show some clips, which even included the big, like in its full, the big Disney princess scene with Vanellope. And from there, Clark was answering questions. He was talking to people, talking about related to what's going to happen with the movie, including, like it mentioned in the article about Knows More, about the Disney princesses, and all that kind of stuff. However, I will go ahead and read from Bleeding Cool, where it says, something asked of producer Clark Spencer in the Q&A that followed was about an antagonist in the film. But rather than any traditional Disney villain, he cites Ralph's own fears playing the role of an antagonist rather than an actual figure such as Turbo. So that's the big situation now. And yeah, there are some people right now, yeah, and like, I'll say that, yes, I am one of those people that probably thought that could be the case, that maybe Taraji P. Henson's character, yes, is going to be the villain, or maybe like kind of like a surprise twist villain in a sense, but for now, it looks like what Clark Spencer is saying is that there is no legitimate villain in Wreck-It Ralph 2. And honestly, this is kind of an interesting thing to talk about, and I can see where there is a little bit of credibility here, because when you do think about it, like with this kind of news, it really does make you reflect about Disney nowadays, and how, interestingly enough, they are not interested in making Disney villains anymore. Like, the last time that we've had a fully legitimate main antagonist, a fully legitimate Disney villain, was back with Tangled, where we had Mother Gothel, and that's pretty much it. The rest that we've had, like, Disney was really on a big binge when it came to, like, making surprise twist villains. Like, when they had a character, it's like, oh, we had this character, but oh no, it turns out they're actually the bad guy. You know, like, we've had that in, like, Big Hero 6, in Zootopia, in, Wreck-It Ralph, in, also Frozen. And technically, like, even movies like Moana, there is no legitimate villain in there. I mean, yes, some people can argue that, oh, well, what about Te Fiti or what about Tamatoa? Well, not necessarily. They're not, like, they don't fully count as villains, considering that they only appear in, like, 1 or 2 scenes, and that's pretty much it. They act more like obstacles than they are villains. In a way, they're more like video game bosses, more so than movie villains. That's kind of the big thing with them. And I do see, like, someone mentioned that Inside Out is actually a great example of a movie that doesn't necessarily have an antagonist. I know, like, some people would mention, like, the clown, but not, like, again, like, that clown is a little bit like Tamatoa or Te Fiti in Moana, where he's not really a full-on villain, he's just, like, kind of a big obstacle, and that's pretty much it. So what Clark Spencer is saying here is that there is a possibility that we could be seeing that in Wreck-It Ralph 2. Not a full-on legitimate villain, but more of, like Ralph and Vanellope facing obstacles, and apparently Ralph's own fears is going to be the bad guy in this case. But like I said before, we have to take this information with a little bit of a grain of salt. We can't really expect this to be a real thing right now. We can't expect this to think that, oh, this is an official thing that's going on. Like, even though, yes, it is coming from the mouth of Clark Spencer, but then again, he could be sending out, like, some kind of red herring, and maybe they are gonna do another, like, surprise twist villain with a character, rather it be, like, with Taraji P. Henson's Yes, or interestingly enough, like, how crazy would it be if Knows More would be the villain? Like, considering that it is voiced by Alan Tudyk, like, Alan Tudyk is back, but as a brand new villain. That, you know, that would actually be pretty interesting. So that's kind of the big situation that we have right now, is actually the fact that we have that this is going on, that there is a possibility we don't have an actual villain in this case, but rather we're just going to see a series of obstacles whenever Ralph and Vanellope are just going to be hopping from place to place. And maybe we are going to see like antagonistic style characters. Like, for example, in the new trailer that we've had last month, we do see like Vanellope running away from a bunch of stormtroopers. So it could be in the veins of that. So for now, I do feel like, yeah, there could be a bit of a possibility. Maybe there isn't going to be a villain in Wreck-It Ralph 2. But again, I'm taking this information with a little bit of a grain of salt, and maybe things are going to be different. The only true way that we are going to know is if we do see the full movie in itself. Like, if we do see the full movie ourselves, then we can confirm what's going to happen. So who knows how it's going to work out, but maybe this is an indicator of what the direction of Wreck-It Ralph 2 would be. So with that said and done, I would like to know from you guys. I would like to go into the chat wall right now, and I would like to ask, what do you guys think about the news about the fact that we might not have a full-on villain for Ralph Breaks the Internet Wreck-It Ralph 2. Do you think this is an interesting direction that they are going to go? Do you think that there will be a villain? Or do you think it might not be a good thing about the fact that we don't really have a villain in Wreck-It Ralph 2? I would like to know from you guys. I would like to know what do you think right now? Let's see. I see that in the chat wall, a lot of people are discussing about like Inside Out, or you know, they're all discussing what could be the whole scenario. Let's see. If this is true, then I'm okay with this. The twist villain was really getting old by Zootopia. Hell, Pixar is starting to do it. Yeah, that is true. Like, yeah, especially with, even with Coco, like, now Pixar is just following into it. It's like, what the fridge? Yeah, I do believe this would be one of the few Walt Disney Animation Studios film with no villain. In fact, Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh was the last time, give or take Bolt. Oh, actually, there is another one that, actually there is a movie out there that, where, like a Disney movie, where it doesn't have a single villain at all, technically. Like, there was, what was it? The 2011 Winnie the Pooh movie. That is actually a great recent example of a Disney animated film that has no villain, but rather just some obstacles. Like Pooh trying to get some honey, or Eeyore needs to find his tail. Like, that's actually a big example right there. That is actually a good example of how Disney is capable of doing movies without a villain. So that could actually be the case. And I mean, like, they do have a history of movies that don't necessarily have a main villain. I mean, like, we could debate maybe Bambi, but I know, like, there's a whole discussion about Man in the Forest and stuff like that. But then there is also, Sword and Stone. That's another example of a movie that doesn't necessarily have a villain, but rather obstacles. Is just like Moana in a way. There is no concrete villain, but like just some bad guys, rather it be like the Barracuda or the wolf that looks like he came out of a Chuck Jones movie, or Mad Madam Mim. So that could be the case. Let's see. Oh, didn't it have the Baxen, or however you spelled it? Yeah, well, the Baxen. Well, I mean, the Baxen doesn't really count. I mean, that's just like, the Baxen is a character that, like, the Winnie the Pooh character's made up because they didn't read a letter properly. That's the whole thing. So that's honestly the problem with that. The Baxen is not necessarily a villain. Even when you do actually see the Baxen at the end, like, he's just like this, he seems like this sweet, nice guy. It's like, oh my god, there's a trap in here. Oh, I better go pick it up before anybody falls into it. Oops, I'm now in this hole. What am I gonna do? That's the thing with the Baxen. I do not count that as a freaking Disney villain. Come on. Like, the Baxen ain't no freaking Disney villain. In fact, like, the Heffalumps and Woozles are more villains than the freaking Baxen. I'm just saying, dude. Let's see. Anything out? Does Madagascar count as a movie with obstacles? Yes! Oh, look, actually, yes. Actually, yes. That would actually count. Madagascar is a great example of that. I know that some people would actually bring up, like, the Fusa, like, they would count as villains, but really, that's not the main antagonist. The main antagonist in Madagascar, when you do think about it, is actually the natural lion instincts that's within Alex. That is actually a great example out there. Fantasia, oh, and also I see Fantasia didn't necessarily have an antagonist. Fantasia doesn't necessarily count in this case because Fantasia is not necessarily like a movie in the literal term, because the thing is, like, yeah, there might not be like a full-on legitimate antagonist, but Fantasia doesn't necessarily have a full-on legitimate linear plot in a way. I mean, you could debate whether it be like Zeus or Chernobog or like the Brooms or something like that. It doesn't necessarily count right there. So honestly, this whole thing, I'm actually really happy about the fact that this does bring up some very fascinating discussions, talking about villains and how movies can work without villains. This is honestly really cool. I'm actually having a lot of fun about this. I don't know about you guys, but this is actually really great here. Okay, so with all that said and done, I think we are pretty much good with this. So with all that said, let us now go ahead and move on to the grand finale. And this time, we actually have another bonus miscellaneous since we are running a little short on animation stories. However, this is something that really is worth talking about, considering that it is the most controversial movie news story of the week. And what I'm talking about here, of course, is, going from, having our villain talk, we are going to move on to probably someone that has often been viewed as a villain this week. And it looks like an actress has not learned her lesson. Yes, what I'm talking about is the big controversy with Scarlett Johansson. Now, for those of you that don't know what happened this week, it was announced that Scarlett Johansson is going to be playing as a transgender man for the movie Rub Tug. So, reading from my source here in Deadline, it states that actress Scarlett Johansson is in hot water once again for her recent choice to play massage parlor owner Dante Tex Gill in the upcoming mob drama Rub Tug, which, by the way, Tex Gill is actually a real-life person. The real-life Gill was born as Lois Jean Gill, but identified as a man, which is a detail in the role that has sparked backlash. So, when the news broke out, a lot of people really did get pissed off that Scarlett Johansson, a cis white woman, is going to be playing a transgender man. Now, of course, there are a lot of people that immediately expressed outrage on social media, especially April Reigns. Is that her name? April Reign? Yeah, April Reign. Now, for those of you who don't know, April Reign is actually the activist that actually started the campaign of hashtag #OscarsSoWhite a few years ago, when there was controversy at the Oscars over the fact that they would only nominate white actors instead of having some people of color. Especially when it comes to their category of Best Actor and Best Actress. So she actually put up a little quote here discussing about the situation, stating that Scarlett Johansson received considerable backlash for Ghost in the Shell when she played a whitewashed Asian character. The movie tanked. Undeterred, she has teamed up with the same director, that's probably a key aspect of the controversy, by the way, to play a trans male character in Rub Tug. Now, from there, of course, we also got some people who discuss about the situation. We also got quotes from transgender female actresses where they expressed their anger about the whole situation. Going again in a different article here from, again, from Deadline, where we have Trace Lizette, who actually discuss about the situation, stating here, "Oh, word? So you can continue to play us, but we can't play y'all? Hollywood is so effed. I wouldn't be as upset if I was getting in the same room as Jennifer Lawrence and Scarlett for cis roles, But we know that's not the case. A mess. And not only do you play us and steal our narrative and our opportunity, but you pat yourselves on the back with trophies and accolades for mimicking what we have lived. So twisted, I'm so done. Now, we also got another quote from Jamie Clayton, another transgender female actress, where she actually stated, "Actors who are trans never get to audition for anything other than roles of trans characters. That's the real issue. We can't even get in the room. Cast actors who are trans and as non-trans characters, I dare you." So that's pretty much the big thing. With the casting choice of Scarlett Johansson as a trans man, a lot of people really got pissed off about the situation. And believe it or not, Scarlett Johansson actually did respond. And holy crap, it actually made things a lot worse. She actually responded to Bustle, where she actually stated, tell them that they can be directed to Jeffrey Tambor, Jared Leto, and Felicity Huffman's reps for comment. And the reason why she picked out those actors in particular, Jeffrey Tambor, Jared Leto, and Felicity Huffman, is because those are cisgender actors who actually played transgender roles. And not only that, but they actually did get a lot of praise for it. Like a great example is Jared Leto, where he actually won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for his performance in Dallas Buyers Club, where he actually did play a trans character. And from there, it just really went insane, and it kind of blew it, like, this whole situation kind of just blew it out of proportions. Now, okay, at this point, before I continue, I just want to go and point something big out. That what I'm about to do here, I'm only going to be expressing my opinion in this. Now, I'm not going to be speaking for anyone. I am very well aware of my position as a cis white straight male. I'm not speaking out for anybody. I'm not speaking out for transgender people. I'm only expressing my thoughts. So I'm not here to have like a high platform and speak for people or anything. I'm just expressing what I think about the whole situation. Maybe I'm wrong in this case. Maybe I'm just stupid trying to talk about this whole situation. Maybe, but all I'm doing is just giving out my thoughts. So don't take what I say too seriously. So this is just a little bit of a heads up. Okay, so with that said and done, I do understand the anger from trans people. I do see how they are pissed off over the fact that we do have a lot of these transgender roles and they end up being given to these cisgender actors like Jeffrey Tambor or Jared Leto or Felicity Huffman and Scarlett Johansson. And I do understand at the same time on the other end with Scarlett Johansson, where she's trying to say like, well, I mean, these guys played transgender roles and they turned out to be okay, so why is it not okay for me to do it? But what I feel about the situation is honestly the fact that in this case, honestly, it's not, like, that's not the main issue. The fact that Scarlett Johansson is playing a transgender man, that's not the main thing. I don't think that's the real big issue. It is a big part of it, but that's not like the big issue in here. The real big issue is actually the factor that Scarlett Johansson has not learned her lesson. The factor that she went through the major controversy of Ghost in the Shell, and now she's back literally doing the same thing with, coincidentally enough, literally the... with literally the same director. That's the big, that's honestly what I feel like is the key issue in this case. Because you gotta keep in mind, let's go back in time a little bit to last year with the whole controversy with Ghost in the Shell. Now, I will openly admit that at first, before the movie was released, I was a little bit more defensive towards the movie. That I did feel like it was a little bit ridiculous seeing how people were giving so much backlash already to Ghost in the Shell just for the decision of having Scarlett Johansson play as Motoko. Which, in my case, I felt like, okay, it wasn't necessary. It doesn't seem as bad, and maybe people are just overreacting, because the thing is, technically, Motoko is not an Asian woman. She's actually a robot. She's created as a robot to serve for the police force. That's her role in Ghost in the Shell. So there could be ways that it can actually work out. You know, if you got the right writers, then the casting choice could actually work out. And maybe with Scarlett Johansson's performance, she can actually do something pretty good with it. But then when the movie was released, oh boy, oh my god, boy did that prove me wrong. Because honestly, like, what really changed here and what really made things worse is that ending. And I'm just going to tell you right now, the ending is so bad that honestly, it was the first time that I saw an ending that was so bad that I was in denial. No joke. Like, I was there. It's like, it was really stupid to the point that I saw it and I was like, no, it can't be. No, they couldn't do that. Like, if that really was the case, then honestly, that writer deserves to be hit in the head with a freaking chair. Like, it really was that. Like, it really was that stupid. Like, even to this day, I'm having a hard time to accept it as that is the legitimate ending, especially if that would actually confirm the anger and the outrage and the backlash that the movie was getting. It really was that bad. Like, holy crap. So really, it just made things so much worse. And it really did. And on top of that, it made Paramount Pictures lose a lot of money. Like, Paramount was really banking on Ghost in the Shell to be this really big thing. But, oh, hold on a sec. I noticed that we have a troll here, so I'm gonna go and fix that. So, sorry about that. Let me go and fix. Yeah, I knew this person had problems. Okay, so I'm just gonna ban that. Okay, so, yep, there we go. Alright, I fixed the problem. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, so, anyways, right now, where was I? Yes, okay, so yeah. There was that big controversy that pretty much confirmed that, yes, that role for Motoko was supposed to be for an Asian actress, but no, they ended up giving it to a white woman like Scarlett Johansson. So from there, now we got into here right now where Scarlett Johansson is pretty much doing the same thing. Like, holy crap, like now it's pretty much doing the same thing all over again, where now she is playing a transgender man, where she is playing a role that she's technically not qualified to play as. I mean, Scarlett Johansson is a white woman. Play roles that are a white woman. Like, you're not supposed to go out and just be a transgender man. I mean, like, it's a little bit ridiculous, honestly. Like, from there, like, it would put her into trouble. And I think that's kind of the big thing here, is actually the factor that you got Scarlett Johansson, she's right there playing as a role that she shouldn't be. And it's pretty much like Ghost in the Shell all over again. So it's, like, yeah, it is a big factor that we do see people really mad about the fact that a cis white woman is playing a transgender man. Yeah, I do see where a lot of the anger is, but like the main thing, what people are really mad about is the factor that Scarlett Johansson did not learn her lesson about cultural appropriation. So it's not really the same kind of controversy that that like a cisgender, like if I like it's not the same case like if I would go and play as a transgender woman. Like that, it would cause some alarm, it would cause some trouble, but that's not the real issue. The real issue right over here is the factor that Scarlett Johansson is doing the same thing again. She's doing the same kind of cultural appropriation bull crap that's going on. And I mean, honestly, Like, I don't get why she didn't learn her lesson. I don't even get why she even agreed to work with the same director. I don't see the point. I mean, the thing is, and then keep in mind, I don't hate Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson, she's a beautiful woman, and she's a great actress. Like, fully sexy, fully talented. But my God, please don't do this. Seriously, just, but for God's sakes, like, doing stuff like this, of course it's going to make you look bad, and I kind of have to side with the people that are outraged about this, because honestly, Scarlett Johansson isn't really learning, she's not learning what she's doing is wrong. She's not learning about cultural appropriation and stuff like that. She's not learning from her mistakes, and I think that's the real messed up aspect about this. So, yeah. With all that said and done, I would like to know a little bit in the chat wall right over here. What do you guys think about the whole controversy with Scarlett Johansson being casted in Rub Tug? What do you think about her being a transgender man? Do you side with the people that are angry about it? Do you think she could actually do good about it? Like, what do you guys think about, like, what do you think about the whole situation? Let me see. Yeah, you don't do every role you offer. Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous about Scarlett Johansson. I guess you mean, playing as a man, as a transgender man. Yeah, it is a little bit ridiculous, and especially in this day and age when, like, honestly, you know what would be actually a great example of this? You know what would be a great example, like, for the whole podcast? Like, imagine if we go back to Los Casagrandes, imagine how people feel that it will feature an all-white cast. Like, there would be no Latino people voicing any of these characters. How would you feel about that? You know? It would be a little bit messed up. Let's see. Scarlett Johansson is a good actress, but she needs to stop working for the same director from Ghost in the Shell. Exactly! You know, honestly, that's what I thought. It's just like, okay, wait a minute. Like, why are you going back to a director that gave you a lot of bad press, that really screwed up with your reputation on a movie that bombed at the box office? Like, why are you going back to this guy? Like, don't you want to have, like, a break? Don't you want to help rebuild your own reputation? I mean, like, you can't survive on just being, you can't let your reputation survive on just being Scarlett Johansson. Sorry. You can't let your reputation survive on just being Black Widow alone. You gotta try to do more roles. You gotta do more roles that are more fit for you as a white woman, or as a sexy white woman, to be precise. But yeah, that's kind of the thing. So yeah, a lot of this, and I have no idea what to say or think. I understand this is, I understand this is a bit of a sensitive, sensitive subject, which is why I put up the little disclaimer that I'm just expressing my opinion as a cis white straight male, so don't take what I say too seriously or stuff like that. Let's see. It is almost amusing it's the same director, the same one that made Snow White and the Huntsman, I think. Oh, is it? I don't know. I haven't paid attention to what the guy has done. Like, the only thing that I've seen in recent memory is just Ghost in the Shell, and it looked like a movie that had promise, and then suddenly, like, that ending came in, and then suddenly, okay, we're going up. Oh, hey, it's the Tower of Terror. Boom! You know, it's just stuff like that. Like, holy crap. Oh, yeah. Like, oh, and I see someone says she was miscasted in The Jungle Book. Well, that one honestly is a little bit subjective. Like, for me, yeah, I do feel like she can be a little bit miscasted because technically it is Disney's Jungle Book, and it is kind of weird how you would go from like a Winnie the Pooh voice to Scarlett Johansson. But in this case right over here, I mean, Scarlett Johansson voicing a snake makes a lot more sense than trying to be a freaking transgender man. That's the whole thing with this situation. Okay, so with all that said, does anybody else have anything else to say? Nope. Okay. So, wait a minute. Hold on. let's see. You guys are telling me that everyone is getting mad about Scarlett Johansson being a man while Tyler Perry dressed up as an old lady for Medea, and everyone is fine with that. That's a different case. Okay, that is a whole different case right over there, because Tyler Perry is not being a transgender woman. He's just being, like, honestly, that's just Tyler Perry just playing an old sassy woman. That's the big difference. There's an entire history with Medea right over there that made our culture accept that. Like, Tyler Perry is not trying to be a transgender woman when he's trying to be Medea. Like, that's the big difference. Okay, so with all that said and done, I think we are pretty much good with this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Like I said, even though we didn't have a whole lot of animation news, we did get a whole lot of crazy news right over here. And it definitely was a lot of fun talking about this entire, like, all the controversies and all the different news and all the different rumors. It definitely was enjoyable, and hopefully you guys had a great time as much as I had. So, with all that said and done, I would just like to say thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, see you later, dudes!